I think the city is muted, or I can't hear anything if there's something being said.
Oh, no, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, perfect.
That's why it was interrupted.
Can
Okay.
you hear us, Travis?
Okay.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay,
Okay.
so I will be using this time tonight to update and providing a little context for a little item that is going to be on your agenda. To approve a contract extension for our nonprofit organization to use visitor generated lodging tax to fund visitor center operations, personnel, events. A specific partnership that has been in place since 2001. Contract addresses both having the chamber be the agency to execute the operations for on behalf of government area promotions in regard to marketing and public relations. Additionally, it provides the funding details for the operation of the Welcome Center, events, and using lodging tax fund as raised and outlined in RCW 6728 1860 Vol C that lays out that lodging tax is used for tourism marketing, the marketing of events and operations and facilities if owned and operated by a municipality or nonprofit organization. 3 years ago, the council increased the amount for the first time to the chamber in 14 years. We asked for this increase due to the costs that our organization is experiencing by taking on the sprawling event that is Oktoberfest. This was extremely needed when taking on an event that has over $1 million in hard costs and lots of risk factors, including those out of our control like smoke. This past smoky September, I lost weight to anxiety as we were flooded with calls about cancellations leading up to that first weekend. A nightmare scenario for us that could become a reality if the air is hazardous. We have to cancel the weekend. So the good news though is that as we received an increase. The good news for the city was that we received an increase of percentage, the overall lodging tax fall between 2022 and 2023 increased by nearly $600,000 and has stayed there at sort of the 4.2, 4.3 mark over the past 3 years. You can also see that between 22 and 23, other markets stayed over there. Yellow line you see on both the retail tax and the lodging tax is a 2022 level, the 23, 24, 25 hitting marks pretty much consistently throughout the year, all above that. Also increased parking since 2022. You can see the number down there. Currently up 27% year to date. So I can finish out the year of 2025 above 2024. So there were lots of things that happened well with those increases. And with those increases, we received other increases. So during this time, we were hit with many other, like some being a byproduct of putting on Oktoberfest, others due to other factors. Or one example is our insurance ballooned from 19,000 to 55,000 in the first year. And it's now hovering around 60,000, mainly due to the Oktoberfest liability and our claim due to the Project Bear lawsuit that we claimed. Our need for storage more than doubled, as did that expense. It went from 7,222 to nearly 25,000 in 2025, even with mitigating factors that we'll talk about shortly. So fast forward today, when comparing our 2022 budget to 2026, operational expenses have increased by $334,000. These operational expenses and their increases are now 100% capable by the Chamber of Commerce, not by the what I popped up here was Icicle House. One of those mitigating factors that I talked about was a new expense that helped us cut out some expenses. And that was in March of 2024. The chamber refinanced our condo at Liberty Station, where our current Welcome Center is. And by doing that, we were able to purchase the Icicle property house. Its double car garage has allowed us to cut some of our storage facility needs and costs, as well as some items that are being able to have items that are more accessible to us. Property also gives us space to store some of the physical assets, like the Chestnut Hut, something that you've all seen. The Chestnut Hut, the van, the trailer, right? Property, and my hope is to invest in a new garage, able to give a permanent off-season home to the beer wagon since its days at Osborne are most likely. So the double wide trailer home has also helped us cut costs to our seasonal employees, entertainers. One that has continued, the cost has continued to climb since all of our housing needs happen during the peak season and the peak times for rates. So we've also found a philanthropic angle for it, and it has housed a team of recreation ambassadors from Yakima this past summer, as well as actors from Leavenworth Summer Theater. So now knowing a little bit of the background, I want to get into what lodging tax specifically pays for and what it also affords. So next chart is literally the budget for lodging tax that would come from the city to the chamber. What it will pay for in 2026 is summer entertainment, winter carnival, May Fest, Christmas Town, Oktoberfest, personnel wages, the very closet, and welcome center operations. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail and we'll also get the full budget without percentages, but numbers and in the summary at the end. So what it pays for, lodging tax doesn't ride off into the sunset into our savings account. It is spent on these specific things. To trigger a payment, just so you know, at the conclusion of each quarter, I provide a letter to the city requesting payment. And that letter outlines some of the key work done and explanation of the dollars spent with a spreadsheet detailing all the expenses for that quarter to the budget that I'm going to be providing you tonight. So the first up thing that we have on the budget is Bavarian closet. A small portion is used to replace items, fix items, launder items, and replace those that need it. The other thing we do is the Welcome Center. Of course, year-round visitor center answering over 6,700 calls in 2024. We are open 7 days a week, 362 days a year, providing personalized travel service, maps and brochures, recommendations, Wi-Fi resources, and festival event information, just to list a few. This slide came from the WSDMO, Washington State Destination Management Organization. Recently, my industry counterparts at the DMO sent out a survey to calculate the number of visitor centers across the state and their activities. Surprisingly, at a combined total, when you put the Welcome Center together with the Christmas Town front counter, we're at 80,000 people, the highest number in the state. Second place went to Forks, who received 78,000. Another thing to note is that 13 of those visitor centers, they were growing, and 10 were saying they were at a constant level, and 4 said they were shrinking. These are some of the tally numbers. We do have software in place that tracks the amount of calls, the amount we answer, the amount of walk-ins that we get. Just at the visitor center alone, we had 48,000 visitors last year. So when staying true to our visitor flow management as part of our Destination Smart, we kept our eyes open for a way to increase our visibility downtown where the visitors are. We piloted a couple pop-up center with our Chestnut Hut a couple summers until we found a location at 645 Front Street, which we will be opening in early 2026. This project has my 2025 P&L looking like an absolute crime scene. This remodel has fully been funded by the chamber from reserves built by my predecessors. Shout out to Nancy Smith, who over decades of saving created this fund, always earmarked for something special. Nobody knew what that something special was. So with a favorable long-term lease in place, the board agreed that this would be a great use of that fund, investing in our destination, our business community, and our legacy. From restoration to rehabilitation, this project uncovered that the building had a sag of 4.5 inches in the center at the weight from the roof above, with bearing down on the beams in the middle of the building. Not good, and the contractor was actually ready to walk from the project and not touch the building at all. It was only at the 11th hour we were able to secure the space next door, which allowed the contractor to move in 4 massive new beams that added to distribute the weight to the exterior walls of the building, thus redistributing that weight, allowing us to open it up and probably preserving that building for at least 100+ years to come. So with that in place, a prime location to provide visitor education and how to give a schnitzel when you're here in Leavenworth. We're expected to open, like I said, in early 2026. And when we open, we're hoping that we will be able to hold a top spot from Forks. 78,000. So in 2026, visitor generated lodging tax will pay for the Welcome Center rent. The chamber will be assuming all other operating costs related to the building, and in our humble opinion, that is a great deal for the city. You pay the rent, you pay everything else. Okay, moving on, Leavenworth. Moving on to events. Leavenworth generated lodging tax. Oops, gonna go right up. Will help pay for all or part of 4 primary events that we throw that have given a proven economic impact to overhead visitation, thus being the best use for those dollars from a return on investment point of view. The 2 biggest economic impacts on Leavenworth that command a higher ADR and multiple line minimums is, of course, Oktoberfest and Christmas Town. The others have it at times of years where we can always use additional business. Therefore, we sort of split when we want this money. Half goes to those events, half to Christmas Town and Oktoberfest. I was recently asked, what does tourism do for Leavenworth? And as I shared with the council last month, this is what it does. This is the Department of Revenue Taxable Retail Income generated for quarter 4. And you can see that picking on forks again, but that 78,000 people were not coming in the 4th quarter. They were coming in the 2nd. But at 111 million, just down the street, we have Kashmir at 21 million. That's what lodging tax status for the 4th quarter. Events. Like I said before, we will be paid for Winter Carnival and MLK weekend, a cornerstone for that month for doing other events. We will also pay towards Mayfest. And 2026 budget is consistent with that of 2025. This event is the cornerstone for our rebranding, Rockfest and Mayfest Birdfest, and the Alcorn Festival under one umbrella. Mayfest will also have some additions this year, aka a beer garden that will actually be funded 100% by the chamber. Next, we have Oktoberfest, and clearly our biggest event of the year and a banger for the 4th quarter. The 2024 estimated economic impact of 18 million puts this in a completely different stratosphere from all the others. Could you give me a thought about it? I don't think so, because I don't know.
I'll tell you what, the beer.
So the last something. Okay, sorry. I'll keep going. So I'd like to share Oktoberfest from a hotel perspective. This is something shared to me by a member. Oktoberfest continues to be one of the most reliable and impactful events for lodging in Leavenworth. While fall is generally a strong season due to the foliage, the demand is highly weather dependent. In contrast, Oktoberfest drives consistent visitation regardless of weather conditions. At a hotel, Oktoberfest weekends typically sell out, even at rates that are roughly 40% higher than standard weekend. The demand is strong enough that we can raise prices further and still fill rooms where we typically research reasonable to support accessibility and maintain the location of guests. From our perspective, Oktoberfest remains one of the most dependable and economic beneficial events in New York for lodging and for the broader business community. So therefore, part of our budget, we would have 2026 visitor generated lodging tax paid for 3% of Oktoberfest operation, 67% of the Phoenix security bill, of which we pay the rest of, and at 110,000, the most going would be 100% of our permit and parking expenses, of which 108,000 goes right back to the city with fees for renting the fest hall and parking lots. Next up is Christmas Town. A December that others envy, that is getting more competition than ever. Christmas markets now in Seattle, Vancouver, Kamloops, Puyallup Fairgrounds, Coeur d'Alene, Prankers events popping up in Bremerton, new light shows in Tulalip. All these places are trying to replicate what we're doing and the business that we get. However, our numbers are remaining strong without the flip of the switch moment and the problems that it created. Traffic bombs are now much more manageable and the visitor experience has been greatly improved. Therefore, we were for 2026, visitor generated lodging tax would pay for 100% of the band's entertainment costume characters for Christmas Town, 50% of the decorating for the lights, gas, food lit things, and at 55,000, it would pay 65% of the operations, of which 40,000 goes right back to the city for the best all right. Okay, next up, personnel and jobs. In 2026, the Welcome Center will be staffed by 3 full-time and 2 part-time dedicated staff members. Here. These full-time positions also come with IRA match, PTO, health, vision, and dental insurance, with the entry plan being at no cost to employees. Both teams are supported by 11 full-time seasonal event staff workers that assist in setting up and tearing down our events. Therefore, visitor generated lodging tax will cover 28% of this personnel cost, as well as a % of the related benefits and payroll taxes. Visitor generated lodging tax will also pay 25% of the wages generated of the 140 locals that work at all of our weekends. This means that hundreds of thousands of dollars of visitor generated lodging tax are used for local jobs. And then finally, speaking of local jobs, the visitor generated lodging tax will also fund 2/3 of the summer entertainment in the gazebo. And by entertainment, I mean Bonnie Birch Trio, Christopher Barnes, Troubadours, Max Colonna, Music Capella, Love Without Bones, and Album Full. So to recap, here is the full budget. This is the lodging tax budget. And Chantal, I know you're cringing because we just talked about how I already need to scrub about $20,000 off of this. We need to take that 20,000 away and replace it with chamber money. The percents are what they are percent of the total. So for instance, salary and wages, I just said is 28%. This is 28% of the total. The other is covered by the chamber or county lodging tax. County lodging tax only pays for these items and some of Christmas town. That's all I have to spend from the county. So that is the budget, the percents to the total amount that appears on the budget. Okay, so that's what it pays for, but I wanted to finish off with what it affords. And what it affords, by that, I mean opportunities, resources, and conditions. Lodging tax affords us to go above and beyond the terms of the contract. These elected programs and costs incurred by the chamber help us review through our funding it forward program pillar. However, being elective, these are also the programs that are the most vulnerable to increase expenses or budget cuts. And first up, as you may have noted, I haven't mentioned the recreation bathroom program in the budget. That is because it was on the cutting room floor this year, and we simply did not have enough lodging tax, city or county, to pay for that program. However, the Chamber of Boards, Chamber Board of Directors has decided to fund the program for the first time 100% by the Chamber. Going back to the 2024 all volunteer program, the Chamber will be funding this to the cost of about $50,000 next year. Also, locals night. As requested by the city leadership, we offer a free locals night for Oktoberfest. They're now active operating for a few years. We know that when compared to the other weekends that we lose approximately 25 to 30%. $25 to $30,000 in lost revenue on that opening weekend. Something we don't have a problem with, but when you have to cut budgets, that's one of the first things you have to sharpen the pencil about. The other is the Kinderplots. Again, at the request of the city, we operate a Kinderplots that loses about $20,000 to $30,000 every year. Something we keep in there because we think it's important to the overall event and for families, but again, something that we lodging tax is affording, not paying for. Other things that fall in line with that, aside from the Kinderplots, it allows us to keep the festival open daily from 12 to 4, 6 on weekends. For free for families, gift wrap, and children's crafts. So from Black Friday to Christmas Eve, families walk in and working at the front counter, it's always fun to see their face when they realize they don't have to pay because they do. So that's always really nice. At a cost of about $30,000, we provide 3 free shuttles to encourage usage during Oktoberfest, keeping parking stalls open for other users, and hopefully keeping people from driving while intoxicated. It also affords us a tool to manage what we do. The most recognizable are springboard pedestrian counters used as a tool for us to track success, usage, festival dates, etc. And finally, it helps us afford our funding it forward sponsorship and community events that don't really qualify for a lot. It's like the soccer club and athletic boosters, things like that. So that's it. I'm done. Terrible. Sorry, I didn't keep my time. I hope I have been able, though, to illustrate the model that we have built using visitor generated lodging tax to not only pay for the essential services that the contract calls for, but provide benefits to our community and destination beyond the dollars that are provided in the contract. So I ask you to please approve the 2026 extension. Feel free to tack on other years, additional years if the mood strikes you, but otherwise, yeah, please let me know if you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions, Troy?
Yeah, Troy, I have a question. Will you guys consider like a 50% off locals night for the first weekend or first Friday of the
We haven't even talked about changing it at all at this point because we have it active. So right now, yeah, I think we're doing the same.
Travis says.
Oh, Travis.
Hey, you might want to turn the volume down if I'm shouting. I end up shouting half the time. great presentation, Troy. Thank you, and thanks for all that you guys do. How many? I have a couple questions. How many full-time employees does the chamber employ?
8.
8 full-time employees. Okay. And then how much? I feel like there was some talk. I talked to some other people in town. There was some extra monies that you guys had towards the end of the year, and you gave some other community groups monies. Is that part of a fund, or is this true or not? Did you donate or give some monies back to the community?
That's part of our funding it forward program that I was talking about. It'll vary year to year, but like now 50% of that money is going to be recreation ambassadors. So there's going to be less money to give away because now we're paying for specific programs versus having people come to us with a letter and say, hey, this is a program we would love to see achieve.
Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. Now, is that $20,000? Does it vary between, is it what's the amount? Is it 150 grand or is it 20,000 or what is typically this number?
Next year it'll be 40,000.
40,000. Okay. You'll split that. And then, sorry, last question. Because it's kind of topical with the city right now with Christmastown and being in the throes of Christmastown, we took huge increases this year with traffic control. We met with them, Selby and the city met with them to adjust some things, and they were hard pressed not to reduce the amount of people. So they're really sticking to this really high number. I didn't see that traffic control or any of that in your budget. Is that something that the city pays for and you guys don't pay for?
You've never paid for it on revenue.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Other question?
Okay. The numbers you had, the storage numbers?
Yeah.
Did that include the mortgage on the new place, or is that in addition?
The 25,000.
Yeah.
I am so horrified to say that is literally what it costs just for storage units. To the house, from the lights, to the expansion system, those are huge.
Yeah.
They're like 7 feet tall. They're massive. They don't look. Yeah, to house all of that, all of the lights, all of the big tables, the stanchions, the costumes, all of it. Yeah. And we try to we're constantly trying to Dana knows, constantly trying to can we get rid of one? Can we get rid of one? Can we get rid of one? We were able to get down, even with that horrible number being what it is, it would have been higher had we not had the bicycle place garage, which now houses of stuff. And it also gives us a place if we have a vehicle, but we don't have a place to wash it or change its oil. We have, the whole Christmas town, we are responsible for the sidewalks, or clearing the sidewalks of the snow, so it's required us to get a snow blower. So then everything we do, it's well, where do we store it? Let's get this, but where are we going to put it? We have no place to put it. And anything we buy at this point would require additional storage units. And so we'll just be buying that thing. It's the thing plus where we put it.
Just put it under your counters. Come on, under your counter.
The beer wagon's a perfect thing. It just doesn't really have a home in everywhere. It's where it goes. It's not the place it should be. People look for it, so.
And I can't appreciate it. I can't appreciate just the scale of the storage challenge. You think you can get it all on that high school property eventually?
I'd like to. Right now, what it has is it has a double wide garage, and then next to it is a cement pad that they were going to build something. I don't know if they're going to build a house with a garage, but there's a cement pad that we currently use, which is great. So we put some things there and cover them. But yeah, I'd like to use that whole space if possible, which would give us about 30 by 60. So,
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Troy. Thanks, Troy.
oh, last thing, I'm gonna leave these to be passed out. I don't know, you all got it, but I really wanted to share that in the seasonal report from the recreation master. It is chock full of information, lots of information about what happened over the summer, challenges that happened over the summer. Sure, there's a daily report from the ambassadors on pretty much all of that. So I'm gonna think these are very, great to be passing.
All right. Thank you. All right, now, planning commission, docket.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to briefly take a little bit of time to go over a rough draft, based on some feedback I've gotten from community members and from sitting in on these council meetings. And so in your packet, you have a copy of the 2025 docket, and then, again, 2026 is just, I'm throwing in ideas based on what I've heard. So this is nothing set in stone. I haven't even talked to the planning commission about this. So I wanted just, I guess, a discussion on maybe anything that's left off of this or anything that you would like to see removed. Starting with some of our continuation, we're still continuing to work through the comp plan update. We should be having some draft elements ready to go in the next few weeks. So you'll be seeing those. And those will be going out for public comment. So that's something that we're going to be continuing through next year and kind of a high priority with the planning commission. They did move the deadline from June of 2026 to December 2026. We're still trying to push to be close to that June date so we can then begin working on our development regulations, which are required to be adopted 6 months after that. We are currently, there are some carryover, the triplexes. I have it on completed because I was hoping to have it done in January. We already had our planning commission hearing, but that might be pushing it. So that might be a continued item. But looking at other continuations from this year's docket, we're still looking at parking for off-street loading. We were talking about that fee in lieu of, since currently we don't require parking for in the central commercial zone unless the building's over 10,000 square feet or it's used as a hotel, motel, transient lodging. It has been brought up multiple times that maybe looking at a fee in lieu would be more equitable. In the general commercial and tourist commercial zones, we do require parking to be included with projects. So the first step of that is to look at our parking standards and how they're currently calculated and see if they need to be tweaked. So I'm working with Transpo Group Consulting, and they are looking at current data versus, because we haven't looked at opened up our parking code in a while for as far as the number of stalls required per use. So we're trying to align our parking standards with our use chart and then try to group those uses together to come up with kind of a number that's more current. And then once we have that, we'll then go through and tweak some things. We're also with our parking garage feasibility study, we should be getting some numbers as far as what the cost of an actual stall would be. And that would help drive what that fee in lieu might be, so that we have a clear nexus. So anyway, more coming, but that has kind of taken some time to work through. We're excited to be making some progress. We're currently reviewing CUP regulations with the Planning Commission. We talked a lot about this at our last meeting, and we're moving ahead with some of that in January. So you'll be seeing more of that. That's just to look at our current conditional uses and make sure they have clear definitions and make sure they have clear criteria. If they require conditional use, we want to be able to clearly define what criteria is used to evaluate them. So what conditions what do we need to look at for these specific uses that need extra conditions outside of what's just required by law? So we're going to be digging into that. I already talked about the comp plan and development regulations. Formula retail came up a bit with Troy brought that to I believe it was the downtown steering. And that was just to look at considering regulation of the types of businesses downtown to kind of keep the mom and pop and limit the number of chains and types of chains. So that's just on here as a placeholder if that's something that the council would like to consider. We also have some updates to the WUI code, and this is our wildland urban interface code. nothing would be getting more restrictive. It's just more clarity. Since we adopted our WUI code, the state hasn't adopted a WUI code, but there is a 2021 code, and we use the 2018 code for our adoption. And there is just more clarification about types of construction methods that are approved for use. And so we just want to make that really clear to the public, because there's confusion when it comes to the permitting processes, what they can they use 4x? Do they need to use 6x? So it would just help clarify that. The fire district has talked to us about wanting to address more vegetation management. Right now, there's just a list of considerations, things they would recommend, and maybe looking at requiring more of that vegetation management. In hand, we would then be having to enforce that, which is challenging. They did say maybe starting with commercial properties, which, I mean, a lot of our commercial properties are 0 lot line or don't have a ton of vegetation issues, but that the impacts could be more could be impactful. So that was just brought up, so something to consider. Fence standards. So our current fence code was adopted before the WUI code, and this was kind of driven by the fire district. And so currently our code requires non-combustible materials adjacent to all structures. It doesn't specify residential structures or habitable structures. And so this limits what people can put within 4 feet of their house or garage or anything, the type of materials. It's really hard to tell if you drive around town, it's kind of a hodgepodge. When I started here in 2019, we didn't require fence permits anymore, and we didn't have this code in place. And then in 21, we adopted this and we required fence permits. So you'll see new developments like Pine Grass, where some are meeting this code and some aren't. But the big concern is people don't like having to do metal or something other than something considered non-combustible, like they can't do a vinyl fence within 4 feet of their house. So then they're trying to find a different material to use. And so maybe if we're concerned about certain types of material, we could tweak that a little bit. But this is we get a lot of pushback from folks on this. And so it's on here for discussion as something maybe we can find a happy medium and still protect property from wildfire and fire spread. What
are they pushing back on as far as fence composition?
I think it's because, you have a lot of the newer, like at my house, I have a vinyl fence around my yard, and where it attaches to my house is, I'm not in the wildland urban interface zone, but it's all vinyl. If I were in the city limits, I couldn't have that vinyl fence within 4 feet. Like
Metal. It's metal that we can attach to it. That's what it's kind of.
Or a fire, what is it, like fire resistant treated wood, but
That's within 4 feet.
within 4 feet. The idea is if your neighbor's fence catches on fire, it stops at that 4 foot and doesn't continue toward the residence. So I think it was something that was put in place again before the WUI code, before we had more standards for the type of siding on houses, things like that. It's still important. The fire district really likes it, but I think it's worth a conversation. Maybe there's other materials that we could be more specific about that would still be more beneficial than like solid wood up to your house. So that's kind of a hot button topic. We get asked about it several times a month, I would say, during fence season, which is becoming a thing. Number 4 on this list, I had short-term rental regulations. There was a typo, I'm sorry, on this draft. I sent it before I was halfway through a thought. But we've been talking about adopting short-term rental regulations in our commercial zones. And this is just, a lot of it has to do with the old homes that are in the commercial zones that can be rentals, that we just want to make sure they meet life safety. And there's been a lot of different approaches to that over the course of time. We've required sprinklers in some of these houses. We've required, I don't know if they've required ADA compliance, but I met with a local short-term rental manager and kind of talked about like, okay, where could we find a middle ground here? And I think there are ways to meet the need of public safety. And also, and like our business license code without being overly restrictive. I don't think in my conversations that we want to go from, okay, it's a R3 occupancy to an R1, like how it's been interpreted in the past. And maybe finding, okay, what are our big issues? We want to make sure there's egress windows or an egress door in each room that's being rented. Right now, a lot of these have been around forever, and we don't know if they're out there if they don't get a permit from us. And we don't know if they have a business license. What triggers us to go walk through and check for life safety is a business license. But there's a lot of people operating that don't get a business license or don't get a city endorsement. And so the endorsement's what triggers us. So this would just be a way to capture everything, know how many rentals we have out there, and make sure that fire is getting in there annually, and that building has looked at egress and their smoke detectors, things like that. So this is just a placeholder for consideration. I do think we could get some buy-in if we had like workshops to figure out what is it that we want to accomplish here. Because it's not to be over regulatory, it's basic life safety. And there are a lot of communities that do this. I guess that's all I'll say on that. I did get one citizen request after we had the annexation hearing on I just put Welcome property on here because when I was drafting it, I didn't have all the materials, but you're familiar. Currently it's split zone, so like the north half is multifamily and the south half is tourist commercial. This person was concerned with critical areas on the site and wanted you to consider creating a new zone for this specific property. There was no specification, like not a zone that we already have. There's concern that our SEPA or critical areas regulations wouldn't adequately address impacts to this site. The reason it's on here is because I'm accepting all citizen requests right now for your consideration, and I have an email that I'll forward on to you as we talk more. Yeah.
I just want to recognize Travis. He has his hand.
Oh, sorry. I have my back.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Yikes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This at the STR regulation, boy, you really touched on something there. I can't imagine my house from 1908 and all the add-ons over the years in which kind of chopped up, man. If there was something wrong, even my son he's got an exit plan in the attic, which is actually a room. If somebody rented that out, it'd be a problem. My master bedroom has like no way to get out. Is there a way to retro this? I know people will be grandfathered in, but is there any sort of robust regulation that allows us to kind of revisit some of these?
That would be the goal with this code, is to make it like, even if you currently have a short-term rental, if it wasn't like built as an R1, I mean, I think there will be kind of different, there's a lot to look at, but our biggest concern is single family residences that have been converted. But they would be required to like at least comply with the basic life safety codes. We're not saying we have to bring everything up to 2025 standards, whatever the building code is. It's just, do you have egress?
Yeah, totally.
Like wired smoke detectors or that communicate? Do you have a fire safety plan? Do you have your contact information available? I made a list and yeah, I talked with Sean Lynn a little bit about this, and he was
okay.
We discussed it, for over an hour about like, hey, what do you think about this and that? And we talked about like a workshop would be really cool to get community input on what the why it's important. Fire district was really excited to hear this because there are some older structures that they haven't been in before. And really the goal is not to be over regulatory, it's to make sure it meets life safety. And after that first initial license, they could just it would just be a renewal process, less cumbersome.
And so you can match that up, right, against the list of people who have business licenses who are already in this bucket of already gone through that regulatory period that we already have. So we're talking about the ones that aren't business set up.
And our STR, we just adopted. We're working on with Deckard Technologies to get software to identify STRs in town. That software is helping us with the residential zones right now. But it could help us identify those that don't have licenses in the commercial zones. And we give a grace period, right? People, I mean, it would be a new process. We want the public outreach. So anyway, I just wanted this on your radar because I think from building official and fire district and just from staff, it would be really helpful to have a very clear path. If somebody comes and buys a house in a commercial zone and wants to do an STR, that this is the code that applies instead of us kind of, well, what is it and how do we apply the code? So I would like that clarity, but.
You'd like to have a template. This is what you need to do, right?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to say, we do it for B&Bs, they have the CUP process and they get an annual permit every year. And those are owner occupied and they're limited. And then we kind of have a free for all with others. And so I think it makes it more even across the board too. We're treating everyone, I think we'd have a lot of the same regulations that we have for minus the owner occupied. But as far as like the annual life safety inspection, making sure that you have the fire district out there at least every so many years. Yeah, and so I'm just looking at options and I'd bring a few to the PC for consideration and then, yeah.
So I'm curious, so there are both in the commercial zone level operating a business that aren't licensed.
Potentially, that's what this Deckard Technologies.
Wrongly suspect.
I know.
I'm so bold. I mean, there's so much going on. There's that just.
In the last week, I've sent 3 violation notices to people in residential zones, and it's because of the time of year.
Yeah.
They are off my radar, and then now it's like, oh. And so those notices went out last week, asked them to cancel their bookings by Monday, and those that are still up got fined this week. But it's minimal, right? When you can rent a place for thousands. And I fine you $250. So having a system in place that has more teeth would really help us with enforcement.
Yeah.
In the commercial zones too. So am I over my time?
Yeah,
It's
let's
fine. I
wrap.
think,
We've got a little more because we don't have a celebration to do, but.
I'm
but we
sorry,
still
I'm
wanna-
over talking.
Well,
I think mine will be
You know,
short, whatever you want to do with that.
no,
Well, the other stuff, I talked about the zone change. I'll send you guys the email on that. R3 zoning is a carryover. So I don't know why I have that on the 2026 docket. It should be a continued, but we haven't even dug into that. So that's why I just put it as its own standalone. We haven't worked on that with the planning commission this year. And then marijuana retail was something that Shane brought up. So I threw it on there from a council meeting. So if there's anything else that maybe we've talked about that I've missed, that's kind of where I'm needing your feedback, and it doesn't have to be in this setting. You could shoot me an email that says, hey, can we add this? Because I'd like to send polls out to everyone like I did last year that, get your feedback on like what would be your priorities aside from the comp plan and development regulations, which we have to do anyway. And with those development regs, we have a lot that we have to tackle that are state mandated codes that we have to adopt. So I didn't even put those on here. I just kind of.
So final question,
Yeah.
Mary. So we've got folks in the residential section that are renting out as a sort of unlicensed B&B,
Not even a B&B because they don't live there.
not owning our
yes, we are, right.
How
Turning
many
their
so far?
second homes. into-
Okay,
At least 3.
We've got a system now that'll help us to identify them more. They're very,
good.
they've been doing it a while. They've got a lot of cities that are working with them, and I think we'll get
Yeah.
a lot more.
The only reason, sorry.
Yeah.
The only reason we knew about them was because of the software. We're not completely 100% ready to go, but we've been testing it.
Right.
And that's how we found these. So it has been helpful.
Biggest thing is to look at that potential docket items and give her feedback on if you've got some
Yeah.
other ones and things, so that when she puts out her poll, she can get. This again will be what we'll do in January with the planning commission.
Right.
That docket, but
Based on what you have carrying over and the things that you are mandated to complete this upcoming year, how much space do you actually have left for additional docket items?
I think some of these are small, like fence standards could be really small. WUI code standards is just simple updates. So some of these would be, I like the low hanging fruit, like those would be
Yeah.
easy things to tackle. I like to have, some things that we are working on, but if there's things here that really aren't a priority, that's where I want to see like, where could we cut these? And maybe I give you guys an option when I send you your ranking things to just remove, like, don't consider this and
Yeah.
This year, kind of thing.
yeah.
Well, I mean, some things don't necessarily have to be removed if they're interesting.
Yeah.
To the council.
And we
To be
revisit,
considered, but they can still go right. But I was just curious, based on the work that you're already required to do,
Mhm.
how much more? You.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's something,
I think that'll dictate the
Yeah.
amount the council actually spends thinking about new docket
Yeah.
items, because if you don't have room for it in
Cool.
26, and you just have mandated items to complete, then it's a much different.
yeah. And I can let you guys know, I mean, you, just from my discussion here, where you can kind of tell where my priorities would be just from a staff perspective, as far as like these things are issues. And so how can we fix that? So I can give my input and ultimately it comes down to you and the PC, but yeah, we won't, most of our time will be comp plan and development regs, but I think we could tackle some of these more minor things, and that would help staff. Sorry for taking all that time. Thank you for
Worth it.
your patience.
Yeah, no, worth it.
No, I'm in no rush.
Okay, connection control program.
Yeah, so I know I'm planning to bring this back to you in January, so I don't have to go and I don't have to take a ton of your time tonight. But really, my goal here, I know we passed ordinance 1713 earlier this year that had to do with some of the code revisions to Title 13. But I just wanted to kind of take an opportunity to walk you through what our cross connection control program looks like, why we made the changes we did in that ordinance, and then what we're doing looking forward. And I'm not an expert in this. I'm learning a lot. I took a really great class a couple weeks ago. And so with that information, and then also my experience here, Chris is definitely an expert in this, and he actually might be online. I'm not sure if he is, but Chris is our water treatment plant operator, if you don't know that. But really our goal here is to overhaul a quite old program that used to have a lot of gray. It's historically had a lot of gray, and therefore all sorts of different customers are treated in different ways. And the goal here is to make it very clear, consistent, so people know what their requirements are going to be. So ultimately, when we're looking at cross connection control, what I'm talking about here is protecting the public drinking water from a backflow event where water from private property will flow back into our main. And there's a lot of different scenarios in which that can occur. And there's also different levels of risk depending on what type of specific, I'll say location we're looking at and what's connected to that system. So there's also commercial and residential customers. There can be equal risks with both depending on what they have going on their property. So especially in an older home, for example, a garden hose is one of our biggest risks. And really what that looks like is when we have a low pressure event in the main, we can have back siphonage through the garden hose. And if your garden hose is in a bucket of water and you're washing your car, or in some of the examples that I've learned about, where you have, bear with me,
Herbicide.
but herbicide, thank you, yes. Herbicide in a bucket, and you have one of these events, you're now back siphoning that into the city's water system, and it gets pumped out to customers, or not pumped, but pressurized, and it's now in your water system. And so we're trying to clean up the mess of that after the fact. It actually is a really big risk. We do have these events, especially when we have water leaks, and also when we do water shutdowns. So on the Icicle Road transmission main, this project this year, this is a very common thing that happens when you have to do a water main tie-in, but you have to fully drain the water main. We have houses that are sitting up above the main, And so now, because we don't have backflow on these, all of that water is flowing back into our system. We sent out notices and we're hoping that people weren't running things and having garden hoses and different appliances with them running, but that is ultimately what the risk to our water system looks like. So Maggie's team and my team work hand in hand, but have very different roles in the process. And so, legally, Public Works is the water purveyor, and community development is defined as the authority having jurisdiction. And so I'm looking at this from the Public Works standpoint. Everything for the authority having jurisdiction for community development is regulated by the Uniform Plumbing Code, which is clearly defined for them. We do have our CWs that govern our side. At the same time, a lot of that program is up to us to implement. And it hasn't, to my understanding, it has not been overhauled in a long time. Again, lots of gray. So really defining where the cross-connection control program starts and ends, and then where the jurisdiction having authority starts and ends is the point of delivery. Generally speaking, it's at the property line. It's at the water meter, which depending on where it's located, that can be inside the building. So a lot of our commercial customers, that's inside the building. And so as the water purveyor, the only authority that we have is to regulate at the point of delivery. Anything that takes place beyond that is under the plumbing code. And so for Public Works, we can observe what's happening in the building and determine if we're comfortable with it, but we actually can't influence any of the devices or assemblies that are placed within the building. So that's where in Ordinance 1713 that the council adopted earlier this year, we required all commercial customers, any new commercial customer, and then anytime there is a new business license, change of use or occupancy, or a plumbing or building permit, that we do require that point of delivery assembly to be installed. We also required the same for residential for any new construction. And so really they're like being proactive. We're going to start when one of these items are triggered, then we're going to require that assembly to be installed. That way we are protected no matter what is on the backside of that building. Our water system is protected. So currently for cross connection control, an assembly is required to be tested. I'm going to use general terms here, but generally whenever it's installed, and then annually each year after that by a certified tester. So it's on the customer to hire a tester. The tester comes out, tests, and then reports to the city. And those are due by July 1st annually. And so Chris, as the cross connection control specialist for the city, pushes out notifications, works with BSI to send lots of letters, and then Chris sends 3 letters before we start to find. We haven't actually found anyone for this year yet. We're still in the noticing period because we've given people a lot of grace this year. And then I know he's personally called, I think everyone twice at this point who's still on our list. So we're really trying to educate before just moving to the $500 fine that's in our rating fee schedule. But those teeth are there for a reason and something that we do intend because it is important. So really, what we're looking at, that's kind of the overview, where we are, why we adopted that code. And then from here, the next piece that we're needing to tackle is the residential customers. And this has been handled different ways in different jurisdictions, but really starting with the higher risk items like in-ground irrigation systems, hot tubs, pools, things where you have lots of potential for backflow if there aren't assemblies installed. So I guess I want that on your radar as something that we're starting to explore. We don't have a plan in place for that yet, but that it is a big impact to residential customers, and I want to name that and be aware of it. At the same time, as the water purveyor, I'm telling you it's important, and this is kind of the kickoff to like revising our policy and actually rolling that out where we. It'll be a policy brought to you so that you're aware, it's transparent, super clear, but something that we do need to start tackling in the residential zone. So now that was a lot of info with no graphics to share with you. Any initial questions, thoughts, concerns?
As somebody who's participating in the cross connection program, I am curious as, is there industry data on failure rates of backflow renters, and is anybody else out there doing it less than annual on the testing requirements? Is that something that could be looked at?
It's required by the RCW to be tested annually. We can require it to be tested more frequently, but we can't require less. Yeah, good question though. Anything else? Well, again, I'll be bringing this back to you, but just wanted to kind of have an introductory conversation.
Okay.
Sure, I will next.
Standard detail.
Construction standard detail.
Okay. So I do want to apologize. There is not a red line version provided for you. So really, I have the current standards to pull up. And bear with me, Brantley. I think most of you are aware, Brantley is currently on leave for a period of time. And it ended up getting bumped up earlier than anticipated. So him and I did not have a full handoff. We were supposed to have a week to hand off, and that unfortunately didn't happen. So he's been running with this. Bear with me as I'm just figuring out all the little details that were finalized since the last time I looked at this. But really the goal here is to clean up some of the low-hanging fruit issues that we already know we have in the construction standards. There's going to be a lot more of these that are coming your way. This is just what our contract staff engineer was able to tackle before her contract expired. Update I was going to give you tonight. We did hire a full-time permanent staff engineer who'll be starting in January. So this will be something that he'll work on with Brantley as well. But for now, these are things that we really need to get in place where we have big gaps and issues with these details. So I'll just kind of quickly walk through, and then I have the existing details here. I'm happy to pull them up if you want a comparison so we can look at some of the changes that were made specifically. But in your packet, we just have a high level summary of revisions that are just based off the different sections. Really section 4, the water standard details, the narrative portion. There was a lot of inconsistencies between the narrative of the standard details and the actual details themselves. So there was clarity added there. And then some of this is updating. I know these were last drafted in 2021. I know when I started in 2022, some of the product numbers and those types of things were already outdated. So I don't know how much those were actually overhauled in 21 versus just translated into the document. So I guess I'll just jump into the actual details unless you have any questions on the narrative portion. Okay. So detail W1, the water service connection, it's a quite new detail that combines what we previously had for a residential water service connection with the backflow assembly detail. And the goal here is to make it much more clear for residents, like we said, now that it's required by Ordinance 1713 for those to be installed during new construction. We want one detail that's clean and clear for any contractor installing those to understand what the need is. And so the new detail covers that all in one detail instead of having them in two separate details. And then what are we looking at right now? It's detail W1. So it's about half a good.
Sideways.
PDF page 54. Do you all have it, or do you want me to pull it up on
Okay.
the? Okay.
Yeah, we have it. It's so hard to review what Brantley put together when I don't know what had previously been adopted. We don't,
Yes.
there's no red lines. I mean, there's the list of things that have changed, but there's no detail about why things changed and what changed.
Yeah,
And there's just the new document in the packet. And so, I mean, I read through it, but I'm not really sure on context.
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Let me pull up the existing detail for you, and again, I apologize, we don't have red lines of these. Let me share my screen with you. So this was the previous detail. This is more just on the detail itself, but really, this is detailed W1, and then this is detail W4, and this is where they were kind of combined so that the backflow is shown on the new W1. So I'm gonna focus on this detail to be a little bit more clear. But really, this right now only shows one size service connection, and what you have in front of you has a lot of different changes that are incorporated into it. And one of the other things too, this specifically calls out that this is for a 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. The biggest difference between that and anything larger is the city installs. And so up to 2 inch, the city, well, the contractor is responsible to excavate, and then the city does the install work. Larger than that, the contractor is responsible for all work. So we do separate those out on our site quite a bit, and then we don't have any residential customers that have anything larger than 1.5 service. So I think as much as I would love to give you a red line version, which is not very simple in CAD, it would be bloody red because it's basically like delete and replace with this new detail. If you have any specific questions on it, though, I'm happy to.
Not really, it's just hard to review. We're not exactly sure what we're reviewing for specifically, other than there's the list of summary revisions that were provided with very little context, so.
I guess,
I don't know what that, yeah, or anybody else, right?
No, and I mean, I kind of chuckle because even with the background of construction and reading these type of specifications, I still look at it and gloss over it anyway. Well, I mean, I'm not sure what you're hoping to get out of us going over this. This is beyond our expertise, I would say.
well, and honestly, at the end of the day, these are adopted by council resolution, and so I just need you to feel good enough about it that you're ready to move forward with them. If you're like, hey, you know what, you guys, like staff decide and we will approve, that's totally fine. I just want to give you the opportunity to look at these and understand that we did change them. If you have any technical questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I can keep stepping through them. But this was last adopted by resolution in 2021. Because of that, in order to replace, I want to bring back to you each time we update for you to adopt by resolution, just so it's.
No, I appreciate that. I wouldn't mind a second glance at this in the future, like in January, where we can see what was adopted in 21 versus what we're reviewing for now. So we
Okay.
can really kind of know and understand how this is changing over time.
So is it, I guess, just so I'm really clear, is it easier if I almost put page by page, okay, this was previous W1, this is new W1?
Yeah.
How do you want me to?
Yeah, kind of like a standard red line version. So like in the text of the document, you can just show the red line version. And then for all of the sheets that have modifications,
The problem of,
you can
I
have
might
like
be able
an
to
X out of
recover
the old one and drop in the new one, you know, that sort of thing.
I might be able to recover it from what I can find on our network. I don't know, the contact of our staff engineer expired, I can't find where the red line version is saved. I have this, that's where I'm currently at, to be totally transparent with you. And then in CAD, that is not how CAD works, so I'm not able to give you a red line version from these are generated in AutoCAD.
No track changing about that.
No track changes in AutoCAD, or at least not to my knowledge.
No, you can easily PDF sheets from AutoCAD and you can put a red stripe through it in a PDF document, the one that really, so that we kind of can see where we started and where we're going.
Are you wanting, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand, are you wanting me to redline every change that was made or just cross out like
Well, in
details?
some
for it?
cases, you just completely replaced the sheet, right? So like
The detail,
W1
right.
is not the same at all anymore, right? It's completely revamped. So you can just strike out the old so we can see what the old looked like and see what's being proposed as the new sheet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just label one old and one new and.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just bring us along on your journey.
Can do. Well, with that, I guess I'll just quickly show you the other one. Well, I guess there's two more. I'll show you W5, which is the hydrant detail. Generally, that one actually I could probably pretty easily mark that one up for you. That one had more simple changes to it. It generally looks like the same detail. And that's a couple pages after on W5. So the existing detail on that one is a lot more similar. So like you're saying, I can show you what this, or if you want, I can mark it up and show you what the specific changes. I think the biggest difference is on here. A little bit further down. We call out on the previous detail, Mueller hydrants, and the narrative section called out Kennedy hydrants, different brands. So there's a conflict there and we had to have issues with that. So here we changed the narrative from Mueller in the existing version to Kennedy in the version in front of you.
That reminds me, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I did notice that we're specing Kennedy for all new hydrants. My recollection is when we went out to bid for the icicle transmission main, there was a bid protest because we spec'd Kennedy's
We
instead
just
of
say
yours
we're approved equal.
or approved equal.
Yeah.
But in this, it says there is no approved equal. Maybe not in less detail, but somewhere in here when it says hydrants, it says there
I
is no.
think it said that on this version.
Yeah, it says no substitute.
Oh, no, it did say that on here.
No
I'm
substitutions.
sorry. Okay, we'll get that cleaned up. No substitutions. Thank you. I know that was on our list, but doesn't look like that got incorporated. But yeah, this will just or approve equal.
I just want to make sure that we're not setting us up for another protest down the road.
And I think that's what we did there was just issue them and said it were approved equal. And then I'm gonna jump really far ahead to the street details, ST12, which I don't have the PDF version in front of me as far as the proposed changes, but so this is our driveway detail. There is gonna be another change from the draft version that's in front of you tonight. But generally, this is just clarifying and cleaning up some language here. There's inconsistencies between this, our code, and other issues that staff has ran into that we need to add clarity to in the detail. I'm throwing a lot at you. Any item of interest on this?
In the future, when we review this again, in the summary revisions, I think it would be helpful to know what page in the document the revisions are, because I keep going back to the summary revisions to try and find some level of detail so that I can just scroll through the pages and try and find what sheet it's being referenced. It's just really hard. Like if you could just do like PDF page, whatever it is,
yeah.
or whatever page on the document, so it's a lot easier to find what you're looking at, and you'll know what page from.
Yeah.
Well, it's labeled at the bottom, so ST12, they're broken out, so that's.
Oh, I know, but I don't know what page of the document that is, and it's a really long document. It's like 8 pages. So it's just scrolling.
I don't know if I had 2 copies, but. Yeah, I think the street details are the last section in, so it's. I don't know if you're in that document.
I'm in the ST section.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then. Sorry, anything on that?
Try to follow along.
So we have street details.
Yeah. I was just jumping.
85 of the, yeah.
Well, and I apologize, part of this is, I do want to adopt the entire thing, so we have one standalone document that's dated, so I understand though. We can make it more clear for you. So yeah, it looks
Looks like a lot more notes were added compared to what we've been working with before.
Yes. And again, this is kind of a compilation of. I know I have notes that I have a live version of this document that I just add notes to every time something comes up or we have an issue or need clarification. Plus coupled with what Brantley was finding on it, so there are a whole lot of changes for various reasons. But if you have any questions on specifics, I'm happy to walk you through them more. Okay. And then the last.
Well, I mean, I think it would be really helpful in our review also to know why you're adding more notes and specifications, because it's has the potential ramification of adding additional cost for residents when they have to abide by these changes. I mean, there's a bunch of different notes added compared to what we've been working with from 2021 was the previous version, right? You know, and one's a call out for like a bond, that's in the LMC, those sorts of things, but like knowing and understanding why things are being added and modified would also be really helpful, so that we really know what we're approving.
And I mean, I have the time, I can happily walk you through that if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so-
I don't know if we have the time to study something right now, since we don't really have all of the consistent process right now.
Okay. Yeah, if that's how you feel, we can wait. Otherwise, I'm happy to walk through them. And then again, a lot of these, like, for example, if you're looking at, the residential driveway detail, the property line setbacks are not shown on this. This is the existing detail. They're not shown on here. They're detailed in our code, so this is to be more clear. They're explicitly shown on the detail. The width is per code, which is detailed on here. Same with the parking space offset and length. The water meter box is detailed in the code that it can't be within a trafficked area unless approved by the city engineer. So we have an offset there and added a little bit more detail as to when that would be approved. And then the approach is similar here. It's just shown a little bit more clearly. And I think one of the biggest things, this is attached to our driveway permit. And so I think the bond comment was added in here because it is required per code, but we end up getting a lot of questions and pushback on that. And so here we just have one standard detail we can point to. And that, I mean, we do have the permit conditions, but this is just one more place where we can be super clear with people and again, not have gray, just point, this is what everyone has to do. This is what it looks like to install a driveway in Leavenworth. Okay, I'm gonna jump on the traffic control unless there's anything else. So they're just four. Oh, they're not existing, so never mind, I'm not gonna find them here. There are four just very simple traffic control details added in here. Right now, we have washout standard details, which are referenced by almost all agencies. They're online, they're easily accessible. But we don't have things when we're just working on a really low traffic road. We do require them to follow pretty strict traffic control requirements, but at the end of the day, contractors don't end up doing that. And we understand that if you're working on a dead end road or something with really low traffic volumes, that some exceptions can be made to like rigorous washed out traffic control standards. So the four traffic control plans in here are all things that were added to help provide clarity to contractors and say, these are things that you can use, but you have to follow these. I think we acknowledged there are locations where having flaggers for a small amount of work when there's really low traffic volumes it's not warranted on our side. And it's really expensive and burdensome for a customer, a contractor, whoever is doing that work. And so these would be allowed to be approved by the city engineer on specific locations. Again, the goal here is just to be really clear so that we can hold people to these and say, no, this is the requirement, versus on some of the washed out standard plans, it's a lot harder for us to justify holding people to those, to have flaggers on either side of a work zone if they're taking up one lane and we have, you know, a traffic volume of 5 cars that go through there. So that's the intent behind these.
Andy, what do you need from us on this? Be aware of it?
Yeah, to be aware of it, and then ultimately, in January, we'll bring them back as a resolution for you to adopt. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to look at them. If you have any questions, to answer them.
Thank you.
Under that red light, great. Yeah.
So Sharon isn't here, obviously. She's in the hospital or went to the emergency room. So I do have a card if you guys would like to sign the card. And I will give that to her when I give her her plaque. But yeah, she wasn't able to make it tonight, so. But we do have cake, so you can have cake. Yes.
You're taking her on her.
Yes.
With every bite, remember her.
Well, before we break for that, I was gonna, as far as another additional topics to take on, right? Just really quick. We need to have something done in the legislative session agenda, do we not? Like, well, how we're gonna, because we didn't come to an agreement on lodging tax thing.
We did, we just took out the one piece of it and approved it with that edit, so we've got it edited if you want to see it.
You can send you the copy.
It reordered
Sorry, I
them
didn't think
and
about
took
that.
out the one that existed.
Does that mean
Modifying
we-
this was good, but we got it.
So we're not gonna use that at all. That one that we took out part of the lodging tax.
Well, it talks about a new tab,
Okay,
new stream,
okay.
so we are gonna use that.
Was there another one, Zeke? Or was that it?
That was it.
Okay, we'll take a break. Have a piece of cake.
I'm gonna go get.
Sign the card.
He stepped out.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm waiting for mine.
Oh.
I don't want to embarrass him when we do roll call. All right, I call the meeting of the Leavenworth City Council for December 9th to order. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Clint Strand, Zeke Reister,
Jane there, Mike Bernard.
Travis McMaster.
All right, Travis. And I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Waters from this meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? All right, thank you. Sorry that she couldn't make her special last evening.
Yeah.
Life happens. Just a note, it's on your agenda, but it didn't get added to the list, but it added into your items, and that is the final item was 17, which is agreement for the emergency services agreement, and it's in your packet, but it just didn't get added on, so it doesn't take a motion to amend the agenda, it's just a note. So I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. So move.
second,
Moved by Clint, seconded by Zeke. All those in favor, let me see your hands. And it passes unanimously. And just a note, that as we move into items that allow for comments, that we are respectful of each other and acknowledge it's okay to disagree. And prior to making comments, please be recognized by the chair. Address the council as a whole and not individuals. Keep your comments focused on the topic that's being discussed unless you are commenting on items not on the agenda. And with that, I would ask, are there any that would like to speak on items not on the agenda? Yeah,
I was going to speak on an item on the agenda.
if it's on the agenda, you will give you a chance to do it at that time. Okay, anybody? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So we'll move on. We've got a presentation, an audit exit conference. And Chantel.
Yes, thank you. So tonight we have Jamie and Jake from the State Auditor's Office who are here to present for us our exit conference for the 2023-2024 audit.
Excellent. Thank you. Am I coming through okay? Can you hear me?
You are.
Okay, great. I believe Janie is going to share her screen. Okay, there it is. So thank you all for providing some time for us to meet with you this evening to present the results of the series of audits that we performed. I say series, it's really two audits that we performed for the city of Leavenworth this fiscal year, this audit cycle. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jake Santasteven. I'm the team manager of the Wenatchee branch of the Washington State Auditor's Office. And Janie Cook was your audit lead this time around, who performed both the financial statement audit, which we'll talk about, and the accountability audit, which we'll talk about as well. So we routinely present our exit meeting results at council meetings. So I assume you're all relatively familiar with our office. But for those of you that may not know, we are the auditor of all public accounts in the state of Washington. That includes auditing municipal governments such as the city of Leavenworth, Chelan County, city of Wenatchee, and so on. Also, all special purpose districts in the state, which would include mosquito control districts and weed control districts, cemetery districts at the smaller level, all the way up through irrigation districts, school districts, up to and including, let's say, Chelan County PUD, for example. So if it's a public agency and it's in North Central Washington, our team based in Wenatchee performs the audits under the constitutional responsibility that we have. So Jane, if you could move to the next slide, that'd be great. I mentioned our team's based in Wenatchee. We have about 20 staff on our team, and we cover a 5-county region. And in that 5-county region, we perform audits for about 173 local governments, individual government entities. Some of those are annual based on their size and their needs. Some of them are on a 2-year basis. At a minimum, we're supposed to be performing an audit at least once every 3 years. That would be for the much smaller agencies that have less financial activity and operational activity, and accordingly, less stakeholders and citizens that are invested in those particular results. But with that scope of the number of agencies, we're performing and issuing on average about 146 audits every year. That's our particular team. And the goal of those audits, they all have individual objectives. We'll talk about 2 of them tonight. Janie will present those results. But regardless of the type of audit that we perform, our hope is that in promoting accountability and transparency, we can reflect the values that are on your screen, which is an increased trust in government, that public servants such as yourselves that are given the responsibility and the financial means to carry out the services that you're tasked with are doing so with a sense of openness, transparency, and really fiduciary responsibility for that money, that you're handling it, knowing that mistakes can still be made, but you're handling it with due diligence. And then if something is pointed out, which we're happy to share, that there won't be any audit findings presented in tonight's meeting, but if there were to be them pointed out, that public officials are taking appropriate responses to learn from those instances. But that's for another day. It's not what we have for the City of Leavenworth tonight. So with that, I'm going to present or share the screen back over to Janie, and she'll take you through the results of the audits. And Janie, you are still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry about that. Not used to Zoom. So, as Chantel mentioned, we did perform an accountability audit for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st of 2024. So the purpose of the accountability audit is to determine whether the city comply with state laws, regulations, contracts, grant agreements, and its own policies and procedures. The audit also looks at whether in general, the city has adequate controls to safeguard public funds. So if you look under the heading Results in Brief, you will see that our audit found that the city operations complied in all material respects with applicable state laws, regulations, and its own policies, and provided adequate controls over the safeguarding of public resources. Also, in keeping with general audit practices, we do not, we just like to let you know, we do not examine every transaction, activity, policy, internal control, or area. So as a result, there's no information provided on the areas that we didn't examine. If you wanted to look at these results in a little bit more detail, I believe they start on page 6 in the audit packet. So we do use a risk-based approach when we are looking at areas to audit. We perform many procedures, such as reviewing of meeting minutes for the governing body. We look at trends such as payroll trends and vendor trends. We also conduct risk assessments with key staff members in the city. We also take a look at risks across the state for cities. So, once we perform all these procedures, we make a selection of the highest risk areas, which are the ones that you would see on your screen right now. So we looked at use of restricted funds for hotel motel tax, concentrating on compliance with RCW and policies in the city. We looked at accounts receivable, billing adjustments for utilities, concentrating on whether they were accurate. Accounts payable, we looked at credit card disbursements. And then we also looked at cash receipting for timeliness, completeness of deposits for City Hall. The last 2 areas that you see on your screen, we do audit those 2 areas in every entity that we audit. So we look at compliance with minutes meetings, and executive sessions requirements as per the Open Public Meetings Act. And then we do review for indications of financial distress. Before I move on, is there any questions about what we audited and the results of the accountability audit? Okay. I will move on to the financial statement results then. We did conduct a financial statement audit for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2024. And the objective of the financial statement audit is to issue an opinion as to whether the information included in the statements can be relied upon to make decisions. We are pleased to report that we are issuing an unmodified opinion. This is the opinion that you want to receive and provides assurance that the financial statements are stated fairly and are materially correct. It's also important to note that the city is elected to prepare its financial statements using the cash basis method of reporting. And as a result, we are required to issue a second or dual adverse opinion, noting that the city chose not to report under US GAAP. It's also important to note that our audits are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards, and those standards do require that we gain an understanding of the city's internal controls or process that it goes through to prepare the financial statements for audit. And we are pleased to report that we did not identify any concerns in the city's process that were required to be brought to your attention or included in our report. Finally, the audit standards require us to consider compliance with applicable laws, regulations, contracts, grant agreements, and where non-compliance could affect the presentation of the financial statements. And we found no instances of non-compliance that were material. These results are also in your exit packet. I believe they start on page 13. So. Okay, we're also required to note whether there are any uncorrected misstatements or any material misstatements that were corrected during the audit. Once again, we are pleased to report that we found neither of these in the audit. We're also required to communicate any areas of special consideration. One area that is always required is management override of controls. So what we do is we evaluate journal entries throughout the audit period and identify any incorrect or unallowable adjustments that are performed outside the routine processes. And we're pleased to share that there were no recommendations reported over this area. Do you have any questions over the financial statement report or any of our processes? Okay. Well, with that, I will turn it back over to Jake for some closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. So yeah, great results for this set of audits that we performed for the city of Leavenworth. It's pretty consistent with prior, at least the most recent audits. I haven't looked back on the history in a while, but I think it does reflect the dedication that city staff and management take in doing their jobs thoroughly and as accurately as possible. As I mentioned earlier, people make mistakes. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Other times you just make an error. It does occur. But the fact that we haven't had anything significant in this particular audit, or I believe in the last couple audits, is a reflection that city management and staff are doing a good job in these areas that we've examined. So in closing, we do estimate in the packet, you'll have some information on page 2 on audit costs. The projected cost for this set of audits actually about $7,000 less than we originally estimated. That's happened before here at the city of Leavenworth as well. I think it's another reflection on how well the city not only does their job, but also how they work with us through the audit process to make it as effective and as efficient as possible. It's not always possible that audit costs can be less than projected, but when it's there, we're more than happy to go ahead and let you use those resources and your intended means rather than to pay for more audit work than is necessary. So we're pleased to share that and what that means and what that reflects. So We are projecting or anticipating needing to perform another set of audits, pretty much the same set, but for fiscal years 2025. We'll do those in the second half of 26. Unless for some reason, when you close out the books this year, you find that you have a significant federal expenditures to require another federal audit, in which case we would have to adjust the schedule because that needs to be performed a little bit earlier. But also we'd have to add that third audit to the package, so to speak. So your report packet indicates that if federal expenditures are over $750,000, that's when you would need a federal single audit. That was the case. It is actually updating for you for this next cycle to be $1 million. School districts are still in the 750 range, but you're wrapping up the calendar year of 2025. And so for that calendar year, the threshold will actually be increased up to $1 million. So that's just something to be aware of. And the estimated cost for the two sets, the two audits that I mentioned, the financial and the federal, they're in the packet as well. So a little less than this time around. And then lastly, for me, before I hand it back over to Janie, we do anticipate issuing our financial statement and accountability reports for the city next week, Thursday, probably at the latest, but more likely it'll be on Monday. Chantel will be notified when those reports are published on our website. But for anybody that's interested, you can go to our website at the URL that's on the screen and sign up to be notified when really any audit reports are published from our office. It could be financial and federal or accountability reports for cities. It could be fraud investigations throughout the state, maybe performance audits. We have some deadly force investigation reports that we've been issuing the last handful of years at the behest of the legislature and its expanded role that it created for our office. So if you're interested in those, you can sign up to get notified when those are released. And the link to that is on your screen. So the last comment that I had is at the conclusion of every audit, we send out an audit survey. The survey is about the audit process itself. There's a series of 1 to 5 rankings on a number of questions, and then there's 3 different open box fields that at the end you can add your comments. We strongly suggest that, especially the comments when possible, that staff that we worked with during the audit process, as well as city council and management, that they take a moment to fill that out and reflect on how the audit went. We use that information. It's really valuable. We look at the audit through our eyes, and as best we can try to put ourselves in your shoes, we'll never truly understand the auditee side of the audit experience. So this is an opportunity for you to share that with us. If there's something that went really well and you want to make sure it's replicated in future audits, this is an opportunity to share that. If there's something that definitely did not work well and you want to avoid it in future audits, same opportunity exists. So we'd recommend that you do that. It does not require a login on our website to fill out the survey. So the email can be forwarded to any staff member and they can fill it out, and they don't have to set up an account on our website in order to provide that feedback. So we appreciate any information or any feedback that you can share through that process. Janie, go ahead and take it for the last comments.
Sure. So finally, we would like to thank city officials and staff, including Shirley and Beverly, for getting timely communications and documentation throughout the audit process. We would also like to thank Chantel Steiner for helping us in completing the audits and again, just being so efficient and getting documentation and answering our questions so quickly. So we do appreciate that. And that concludes our presentation. We'd like to thank everyone for your time today and your participation in the meeting. At this point, we'd like to open up for any last comments or questions.
Okay, have any questions?
Nice work, Chantel.
Yeah.
Chantel.
The group
nice
effort.
work. It's great.
And greatly appreciate Janie, and you're not seeing here tonight Josiah This is my first year with Janie, and Josiah has been with us on several of our past audits as an audit lead, and I think he was getting his teeth cut with us many years ago as well. So they know how very OCD I am, which is probably why we save money.
Great.
I appreciate Janie bringing back all my records and in great order. So.
Good. Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
with that, we'll let you get back to your meeting. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Action item 10 is resolution 30/2025, which sets the 2026 rate fee schedule. And I think everybody's got a little piece of this action.
I just want to say that I told you guys that there were no changes with the festival, and that is still true. However, in the red lines, I did not change those. So I now have those changed because they were the previous years. They're the previous years. And in 2025, they are different than they were in, okay, I gotta get this figured out because they're a year ahead. So I had to change them to match 2026 rates. So they're all the same now. Whereas before 2025 was less than 2026. Because we're a year ahead. We always do a year ahead. So now we're at 2026, 2027. So 2026 is now the current rate that they are now, and 2027 it remains that same rate. So if you notice that there were new red lines, that is why that is. So I'm sorry that I didn't do that sooner. But there are no changes. That's the ultimate. Sorry.
It's okay. The only item I had was under the miscellaneous fees and charges on page 40 of the document in red line. And that was just adding in the invoice late fee process to send people off to collections. So nothing new from my department.
And I haven't added anything new since I shared with the council previously.
Parking, there's a request to spell out the lots that are going to be impacted or available for the employee parking program. So I put that in the rate fee schedule, but I want to be clear that when people register, they will be acknowledging that they have been told where they're allowed to park.
And then the items I updated were in water and cemetery, and then detailed in the data. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer those.
Over those question marks that were in there before, right?
Andy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I see that you did put in the two different options for the water meter box replacement. And under option 2, it has the regular 275 feet plus with your equipment materials. When a resident is gauging whether or not they're just going to go out and get a contractor or if they'll work with the city to do the work, is there a way for a resident to get an estimate so that they kind of know what they're working with?
That's the intention is we'll give an estimate and then we'll bill on the actual time materials. The problem is there's so many different surface conditions. I don't have a good way to have a set fee without it being that way. If someone has concrete or asphalt or landscape, like it just varies. So that was the best way I could kind of detail it. But yeah, we'll give them an estimate.
But there will be like a site visit and then you provide an estimate for the work that gets.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you can articulate that, like estimate from the city upon request for labor, equipment, and materials, just so that people kind of know, like, if compared to, say, trying to go find a contractor, but maybe the contractor is 3 months out or something like that, and the city can get it done so much sooner, those sorts of things, so that people have a way to kind of figure out which way they want to go.
Yeah, we can do that. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you guys do on any of the permits? Is it an estimate? Because I think that's maybe more of a procedural detail versus having that be in the rate and fee. I don't know if I'm off.
We do have that. I mean, we have the ability to, like, even in our permitting software, to do a temporary permit and do like an estimate, the estimator. That's it.
I think that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I think we do that in other places too, man. Yeah.
I think the best, the biggest part I found out is that I don't let people know that, you know.
So you can get an
Yeah.
estimate.
Look at it, in there somewhere where.
Yeah.
If you want that language in here, yeah, we can add that.
I think that, yeah, that would, yeah, just, I mean. The added option is a great option, but if you don't know how much it's gonna cost, at least on the ballpark review.
Yeah, they should know that's available up front and then run through it. It's right there for them.
Yeah, we can have that language in. I guess one item I did want to touch on, and I kind of wrote about this in the, under the system development charge, but our 2-inch by 6-inch fire meter, as you might have seen, that was something I had added in for a system development charge, and now I'm taking out. And I think I honestly can't remember if I talked about it in here, but I'm working with our consultant to have a supplemental agreement written for the utility rate study for him to evaluate that. Right now, we just have a monthly charge for what's listed as a 2-inch by 6-inch fire service. What's this for? Fire
service meter.
Yes, thank you. No one's being charged that. So right now, no one's paying for a system development charge. No one's paying a monthly fee for that. Talking with him, he's like, I don't even know what this is. It's just always been in here historically. So he's going to overhaul that, actually have that detailed per size, and we'll have a system development charge and monthly fee that'll be likely a lot less than what we're seeing here. So that's in the works. And then the other item that he'll be working on next year, not for you to implement this year at all, or for 26. But we are looking at having a separate customer class for hotels. And that way we can develop a conservation-based rate specifically for hotels, pull them out of the rest of commercial, similar to what we have for residential. We know what conservation-based, well, we can have assumed water usage per hotel room. That's how they'll be charged. So just, you know, that's the other piece I have them starting on too, with the goal of adopting in the 27 rates.
Other questions?
I just wanted to know, maybe because I've never heard of that. This 2x6 meter size, that's what this is the typical water meter. That's
No, so this is
Breaks up.
specifically for like a fire service connection. My understanding is this is for like sprinkler lines that run into buildings that are a separate line.
This is more like a commercial issue.
Yeah,
So we have any in the residential? No, they're all,
Okay.
yeah, they're all private. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, all commercial. Only, sorry, commercial only, not residential.
Right.
But yeah, no one's being charged that fee that's listed in there right now. Talking with our consultants, a really high charge unless they're served by a 6-inch connection, which our understanding is a lot of them aren't. So anyway, there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up before I propose anything, except I am gonna leave the monthly rate that was in there because that was already passed as part of the resolution. We'll get better data from him specifically on that and then bring that back to you to add into the rate and fee schedule. I think our goal for this is the first meeting in February of 26 to update just the fire service connection charge in this document.
So you want to leave the proposed fire service meter in there now, and then we'll amend it again.
Yeah.
Other questions? I think that covers them then, if I would entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve resolution 30-2025, the 2026 rate and fee schedule. Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Shannon. Any questions from those in the public? Ron?
Ron Duncan, 224 Cascade. I've spoken on this before. It looks like we're doubling down on the city's side on that miscellaneous fees, item number 19. Water meter setter adjustment fees, where the Public Works specifically identified incident on Cascade Street, where there was a clear bowl in the yard because the water meter had settled so far. And that is an issue on our lots that are been occupied for more than 100 years. And there's been a lot of city public works activity with those water meter boxes. In fact, in the public work director's presentation today, the current work standards, she still showed the line of delineation between the city responsibility and the homeowner responsibility as between the box and the double check valve. So it was after the box is the line on the graphic that was shown on the screen during the working session. So it's unclear. I mean, historically, the city was responsible for the box. And if the box is sank, that's clearly a quality issue that the city needs to address. But currently, we're assuming that the homeowner is responsible for this formerly city responsibility. And as a result of the poor city response on Cascade Street that justified this $360 fee, if a customer points out that there's a problem with the water meter box and asks the city to take a look at it, the new requirement, item number 20, all other work required as a result of customer-initiated improvements or requests related to the water meter or its appurtenances will be billed to the customer. So a customer, a lot, has been paying for water service for 100 years. And if they point out, because they live there, that there's a problem with the water meter box and want to talk to the city, according to this, they shall be billed. They're going to be punished for pointing out that there's a problem with the water meter box. I think there should be some ability for the city to work with customers, because this is the demarcation between the city responsibility and the landowner. And this is a hostile, both of these items are hostile to ratepayers. And they're saying that we're going to punish you because the city did a crappy job putting this box in 20 years ago. And now there needs to be a fix, and we're not going to work with you. We're going to charge you. I don't think that's the message we should send. I think we should allow that city workers can go out and evaluate and determine how are we going to make this right and who needs to do what. And this doesn't allow for that. So I'd like to ask that those two items are not conveying the right attitude towards homeowners in the city. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Amy, would you mind briefly addressing comments on meter box adjustments? Yeah, so like we've talked about before, this is something that's specifically requested by the customer for the benefit of the customer that does not impact the traveling public, items like that. There are a lot of different situations which trigger this. The specific incident that's being referred to, our team determined was grading. It was on the back side of the sidewalk. It did not pose a risk to the traveling public. Therefore, it was something that was not driven by the city for us to address. I do want to specifically say that what is the fee for that we have listed here? The $360 fee for the water meter setter adjustment fee. To clarify, that is that's more of a plumbing thing, and really the biggest cost behind that is that the meter resetter itself is really expensive. This is not just adjusting the meter box, but this is specifically putting a resetter inside the meter setter to raise it up. So for example, when we have a driveway that comes in or some sort of substantial grading on property, and that water meter is now an additional foot, for example, below grade, we need to put a resetter in there so that our crew can reach in and access the meter. That's what this resetter charges, for us to actually put that in and raise that entire meter up. It's not adjusting a box. There's not a specific fee in here just for adjusting the lid of a box. There's fees in here for replacing a lid or a box that aren't traffic rated. And really the biggest driver behind that is we have to go purchase that and have staff time to install. But we don't have anything specific to just minor grading adjustments for a box listed in here. Again, that would just be staff time or labor and equipment charges, which are pretty minimal. Again, we do give customers estimates and then they can make that decision. But the $360 charge is not just for us to put another riser on a meter box.
The 360 is tied to the resetting the meters.
Yes, it's specifically the resetter fee.
That's the resetter fee. So if you have to adjust your box for whatever reason, that's not what it's gonna cost you.
No,
I mean,
it's not listed in here. That's just if it's substantial enough that we need to actually raise the meter. It happens with really grading is the biggest thing that happens on property. But if someone comes in and substantially grades, now our meter is too low in the box for our crew to actually be able to reach it and access, then the resetter gets put in, and that's really the driver.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
When that happens, it automatically triggers a resetting.
No.
No.
You're saying, sorry.
So if somehow gets lowered because of the pavement or whatever, or the driveway.
If it's just subtle settling, no, the resetter wouldn't be required. This is more substantial grading, like where that grade is changed by a foot or more.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
It's changed by a foot, then you have to kind of reset the meter.
An example that Andy gave me when we discussed this was someone recently put in a driveway. They previously had alley access. They wanted a driveway. They put in the driveway. The meter was in the middle of where their new driveway was. That resulted in this scenario that she's talking about, where the grade was changed. Our crew cannot reach the meter, so the meter resetter needed to be installed.
Okay. Thanks, Andy.
Is there any type of process that, like, really, that put in your driveway, like, trigger, like, okay, like, before you do this, like, no, you'll get hit with a resetter?
That's some of the changes. That's why, for example, in the driveway detail that we were just looking at earlier, it does show the location of the meter. So that way, if that is in the driveway, it has the note in there about approval by city engineer. That would then trigger Brantley as the city engineer to look at that and have that additional requirement too. Otherwise, historically, no. And what's happened in some situations, like the exact situation Selby was talking about, the meter lid was underneath an existing gravel driveway. So it wasn't on our radar that it was there. But when the contractor got in and regraded that area, they did find the meter box, but they only brought up the meter box itself. They didn't adjust this. So that does happen. But anyway, that way, as part of the process, if we're clearly checking where the water meter is and putting it on, it becomes a responsibility of the customer when they're submitting their site plan to show us if the water meter is in that location. We're also refining our staff process so that we do pre-pour inspections. Now that we do have more staff, we're going to be able to do that. So anyway, lots of process improvements, but that's really what that charge is.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one question just before we do this is, I understand we're having this open house to explain the rates, right? The rate changing for 26.
Yes.
Right. So I'm still looking for projects that we can let people know that we're committing to for this rate change. Because this is the big one. Last year it was like 3% or something. This year it's a 12% increase on the, So when I did the numbers for myself, my just for the water itself goes up $144 in 1 year.
What?
For the
Oh,
water.
a
Over
year.
the year total.
A year.
Yeah.
Okay,
1 year
got it.
total.
Yes.
So you're $12 a month.
It's like per month.
So my point is that I think it's really important that we have, as we go through and explain this to folks at this open house, that we have specific projects that we're committed to. Like, for example, we did this thing from the wells all the way up Bicycle back, to Mine Street. Do we have a list of projects we're gonna put out there for the public so they know? It doesn't have to be every single thing. But I think it's important to have projects listed that are tied to this increase for the next 5 years.
We do have projects, and ultimately, we are running with the communication plan that Kara prepared and presented to you. And so really, we're looking to her to drive the messaging that we share with the public and how we craft that in a way that it's digestible and understandable for the public.
Mhm.
With that, to those open houses and things, Chantel, and I do bring the list of projects that we're referencing. But again. Sorry. You good? Okay.
Just water.
Okay.
We did have the handouts at the engagement night that
Yes.
had all the water and all the sewer major projects.
But she's detailing more than just the projects too. So I know today I just looked at the draft of a postcard, for example, that explains a little bit more about how we got to this place in our water system. The additional costs that we have when we are reactive versus proactive. So it's a little bit more broad than just, these are the exact projects.
Right.
This is what we're doing. It's a bigger picture of helping the public to understand what our infrastructure needs are.
Yeah, no, I get that. I saw that. So I get the idea that, we all know there's leaks all over town. And that's what's driving all this. And so we want to get more proactive than a reactive. I just think that when people are seeing that, and I didn't see that in her presentation on the web, that there were projects that were going to be listed for people. They see us fixing leaks all winter long. They know that's an issue. But I just think it would help the residents to know, here's some other projects that we could never do before, and now we're doing because we're raising our rates.
Well, the leaks we were doing. That's the problem, that's all we.
That's all I can, but
But now we're gonna be doing some replacing and those projects are in, so.
okay. All right, that's just my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had a handout at the engagement night that one side was water, the other was sewer. And out of the list of all the major projects, I had identified next to each one, which ones were currently in process. And with water, it was almost the entire list. There was just a few that are in the future, but sewer is going to be a little more out because we're finishing up the plant. We're also scheduled for, we were looking at doing a pop-up event at Dan's, but unfortunately that one's not going to work out, but for this Thursday. And so we are looking at potentially doing a pop-up here in City Hall. And also next week, Andy and I will both be at these pop-ups. And we're going to do another one here. And Kara's working on getting the whole out to the public. Here's where it's going to be. Here's the time frame. Come on down.
Great.
Ask questions. And we're timing it between 4 and 6 so that people who can come earlier can, and those who have to come after work can hopefully make it to us too. And of course, we're both always available.
No, I think that's an excellent strategy to get that out and have actually sit down place with people who come.
Yeah.
So is that a date already established here?
Yeah, I think it was in the press release. Did you send it out?
I sent the press release to you guys on Friday.
Next Tuesday or Thursday?
Next Tuesday for sure in here, and then potentially this Thursday,
Okay.
maybe in here as well.
All right.
And that's just 2 of them. We'll be looking at many more throughout the year next year because we are going to have more increases in the future.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And Kara has some really great ideas about just having some presentation materials, having some old pipes for us to show people. So, we can show the examples of what we're dealing with underground. Yeah.
Well, that's an awesome way to go about it.
Picture that manhole that has like the open, stormwater with the sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Field trip out there.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor, let me see your hand. All right, it passes unanimously. On to our next action item, amending the 25-26 budget, adopting the salary schedule. Chantel.
Thank you, Mayor. This is your last budget amendment for 2025. Since it's so small, I'll go ahead and outline the 4 items that are pretty much incorporated within this. 2 of them are related to each other, and that is the interfund loan back and forth between the general fund and the pool fund. For the public, if you're interested, the Chelan County Assessor did not collect all of our taxes this year for the Upper Valley Park and Recreation Service Area, and so the city is doing an interfund loan from their general fund to the pool fund to keep us afloat until our property taxes are collected over the next 3 years for the amount that was not collected, which was about half. The other two items, the golf course was a contract agreement that was approved in December of 2024. I was not aware of that as I didn't see that in the contract, so that did require that I identify a $5,000 increase from 5,000 to 10,000 total.
Oh,
Is there advertising funding?
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. And then the last one, removal, so saving $102,000 in the water fund. We did not borrow funding for the Cedar Stafford Center Street improvement project. And there was a debt service payment embedded in the budget to cover that debt had we borrowed for it. So that is being removed. A fifth one, sorry, $50,000. So this one is a staff request. So we are currently under contract with ARC Architects for the parking structure design and engineering. But as they were working through that, they did have to reach out to a different engineering firm, Munson, for some assistance, additional surveying.
Oh, that was a survey.
Yeah. And I know it's less than 50,000, but I did speak with Selby and asked him if there might be some other potential ones, and he said potentially. So we're just asking to go ahead and put in an extra 50,000 in that line item to cover all the additional engineering surveying that may or may not be necessary. That is all of your Exhibit A for amendments this year. Exhibit B is the annual adoption of the salary schedule. And this is your first time seeing it all in one with bargaining and non-bargaining all combined. This year's calculation for the cost of living adjustment came out to 2.05%, which is fairly small. This is a negotiated percentage with the bargaining unit, and it is consistent of a CPIU small city adjustment that incorporates the average of the second half of 2024 and the first half of 2025. Again, all language that was bargained and within the bargaining agreement. Unfortunately, the colors didn't stand out as well as I would hope they would with the color copies, but you can kind of see there's a lighter gray looking color. Those are all the non-bargaining positions. And then pure white is all of the bargaining unit positions. Keep in mind that a few of these positions that are listed in here are not existing positions that might be filled by a staff person, but we definitely have a need for them or have had a need for them in the past. And so all of these positions were negotiated with the union to be incorporated.
Any questions?
Leavenworth City Council moved to adopt ordinance 1719, amending the 2025-2026 budget and adopting the 2026 calendar schedule.
Second.
Moved by Shane, seconded by anyone. Any other questions, comments, any from the public? Not seeing anybody. All right, all those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. Next is the 2026 agreement for fire marshal services. Selby.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. Mike Smith is here to answer any questions you may have. This is our contract for fire marshal services. There was an increase in the last amount from a historical 52,000 up to 50,000 with a 1% annual increase. This year they proposed an increase to 60,000 a year with an annual increase based on either the CPI, which is the same. We used the second half of last year. Sorry, the first half of
Second half of
25, first half of 26, 427. So it's either 2.5 or the CPI, whichever is greater. And if you have any questions, I think Mike will take them.
Also, yeah, also, I just wanted to say that the expiration date are different. The starting date and the expiration date is January 1st of 2026 to December 31st of 2020.
And I caught that, but put the wrong one in the packet.
But the one everyone's signing is correct.
Yes.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to sign 2026-2028 and local cooperative agreement between the city of Leavenworth and Chelan County Fire District Number 3 for international fire services.
Thank you.
By Clint, seconded by Spenny. Anybody in the public have any comments or questions? Being none, all those in favor, let me see your hands. Another passes unanimously. And action item 13 is the 2026 Chamber of Commerce Agreement. So,
Yeah, council, this is just asking your request to extend the existing chamber contract at the 21% of the preceding year's lodging tax revenue for 1 year.
questions? I entertain a motion.
I have a question. Oh yeah, we can keep moving. Go ahead.
Go for it. Go ahead.
Well, it's entertain a motion, then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve the 1-year extension of the 2023-2026 Chamber of Commerce contract for the period of April 1st, 2026 through March 30th, 2027.
Second.
Moved by Clint, seconded by Zeke. Okay, now you got a question.
I got a question. Why are you asking us to extend this by 1 year instead of what we've typically done in the past?
Yeah, we've typically done 3-year extensions. My first year doing this, I was only here for a few months. As I was crafting this agreement, I realized that the current contract references a 2001 agreement that we do not have. And also, I've reached out to other communities and reviewed their contracts with their chambers. Have some ideas, but given the fact that this contract references a 2001 agreement that we cannot locate, I think it's prudent for us to craft a new agreement.
Did the chamber couldn't supply that contract from 2021 either?
We didn't have it in our files.
We don't have it in ours, and it's old enough that it needs to be updated regardless. So we've talked to them. We said, okay, let's just extend it, give it a year, and let's meet and get together and hash out what our new agreement, what's going to be included in that.
Okay. What cities did you reach out to, Selby, that you're referencing that are similar to our?
So far, I have Chelan and Friday Harbors, but I've reached out to a dozen.
Yeah, we're looking at other tourism economies, basically.
Knowing that nobody's exactly like us.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of think it's a good idea to do just what we're doing, take it for this year and reconsider. I just think it's a smooth way to go.
And every contract, well, the 2 contracts that I've found so far are 1-year based contracts. They're not 3-year contracts. And I did reach out to Port Townsend as well, and they don't have a contract and they don't have a chamber anymore.
Yeah. They're on the other extreme. Yeah. Any other questions from council members? I know we've got some interested parties out here. Does anybody want to get up? You were ready to say something. Yeah. Get up. Sorry.
Mayor, council members.
Name and.
Sorry. Yes. My name is Kevin Ricky, 9693 Dye Road, Leavenworth, and business owner at 719 Front Street, as well as a current board member of the Leavenworth Chamber of Commerce. Mayor, council, city staff, thank you for the opportunity here to address you tonight. I'm here to express my perspective and support for the city's continued partnership at the Leavenworth Chamber of Commerce. Over the recent years, the Chamber and the city have built a collaborative and highly productive working relationship. I've been heavily involved with the Chamber since 2007, and the relationship has never been better. As we all recognize, Leavenworth is now a mature tourist economy, and with that maturity, our goals have evolved for the better, in my opinion. The Chamber board level, our conversations are no longer simply about increasing business volume. We now focus heavily on improving the quality of the visitor experience while protecting quality of life for residents. In response to the city's priorities and community concerns, the chamber has intentionally aligned its programs with the vision since COVID. The recent strong city chamber partnership has proven to deliver tremendous bang for the buck, in my opinion. A defining example is Oktoberfest. When the city needed a new path forward, the chamber stepped up and assumed the financial risk, investing significant capital with no guarantee of a break-even return. The chamber's goal is not to make large profits, it is to break even, to avoid overburdening residents, to support the business community, of course, and on good years to give something back to the community, thus making a positive from the impacts large festivals have on local life. The chamber took on this substantial organizational risk for the benefit of Leavenworth's broader community and its residents. Under the current lodging contract, the chamber delivers far more than people realize. And since I only have 3 minutes, I refer you back to Troy's presentation earlier this session. Now, I know council has a chart in your packet showing the chamber's allocation since 2004, and I offer two considerations, please, as you review this. First, what is the chamber now providing compared to the past? The services are not the same, not even close. The scope, the quality, and the professionalism with which the chamber executes this contract have increased dramatically over the last 20 years. Second, costs have risen for everybody, city included. As Troy highlighted, storage, insurance, transportation, labor, every category of our year-round budget has escalated over the past 20 years. The increased funding trend does not reflect waste expansion or for expansion's sake. It reflects a higher standard that the city has asked for and the chamber programs services. Yeah. Chamber remains committed to accountability, to transparency, and this partnership. We look forward to negotiating in good faith a renewal of this relationship that honors what both parties bring to the table. To wrap up, the city gains a capable, responsible, community-minded partner, and the chamber gains the clarity and financial stability needed to continue providing a world-class experience while prioritizing residents' well-being. Thank you for your support, and thank you for hopefully approving this vote tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. I would agree with Kevin on that, and I was going to make that comment earlier. This chart that's in here from 2004 with the amount and the percentage change is meaningless, and I think it's just unnecessarily stuck in here. I mean, you look at it and you think, oh my gosh, $892,000. It's not a fair chart to stick in here, and it really doesn't matter to what
we're not passing a chart though. That's just information.
It's meaningless. It's inflammatory. It's not a positive. It's worthless. Anyways, I'd like to ask about, this is the second, we have 2 meetings left at the end of this year. We do this extension.
No, this is it.
But because they're submitting invoices.
This is it. Travis.
So what is that? What's it?
This is the last meeting of this year.
Oh, I thought we had, this is it. Oh,
No,
okay.
This is it.
So this is the last meeting of the year. So the chamber has this contract that's in the spring, and I see these dates in the spring, but they're submitting invoices at the end of the year to be paid for this contract. So they're in the throes of one of their biggest events, wondering if they're even going to be, what their funding is going to look like for the next year. Is it possible to not do this next year, because we're going to look at this again on the last meeting of the year? Can we do this earlier in the year? Or
yes, that's already
September, October. Is that possible?
Yes. That's
okay.
The idea behind this is that we will get busy right away and work with the chamber on that new agreement. So yeah, we're not going to wait a year. We're going to get started. This is just, again, this is just buying us time, just extending what is currently in place and allowing us to do that.
I'm just wondering why this year this came up. We knew this deadline was coming up, right? And here we are in the last meeting of the year. Why have we been looking at this for a while now, or why is this coming up now?
As I explained the last time we'd discussed this, Travis, I've been here for 3 years, and this was the same time frame we did. In fact, this is a meeting earlier than we approved the chamber's contract in 2023. We did that at the first meeting in January. So I understand that prior to me being here, it might have been done earlier, but in my experience, we're on the same time frame we were in the past.
Okay. I just think I'd like to get it bumped up, and it sounds like we are. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got others that would like to speak. Come up and state your name and address and share.
So Julie Weller, 224 Pine Street. President this year, the Village Voices. W. Paulson, 563 Indoor Lane, treasurer of the Village Voices. I didn't realize until maybe a week ago that the lodging money that we get paid for caroling. So it's about, we had 16% of our budget. We put in the time, our nonprofit colleagues, all 18, 19 of us go downtown carol for 2 hours and rain, sleet, whatever it is. And earn $300 each session. Well, mostly we pay our choir director, Mindy, who lives in the area, and our pianist who studies over in Ellensburg. And we pay Snowy Owl for use of their facilities, and we make money on the ticket sales or we don't. That's just kind of on us, and we're a nonprofit. A lot of the people in the group can't really afford much money to, you know, put towards, because it costs us $900, $1,000 per person to put on one season, which is just the month of December, but we're working from the middle of August. So that, however, the lodging tax money gets to us. Can I say I don't care about the process? We're providing value to the tourists. It's wonderful us personally for just our mental health and friendships and community spirit. We go to a couple nursing homes. We're losing money this year because the Canadians didn't, they were gonna have 2 private concerts with us. And yeah, they're not coming. So it matters to small nonprofits what you do with the lodging tax money. How much the chamber gets so that they can pass on to us. Pretty much it.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I want to weigh in I appreciate the data. Thank you for providing data, and I appreciate the data that Chamber provided earlier. All of that is very important for us to know how we got to where we are. There's no doubt that the Chamber is providing incredible service to our community. As a business owner and a member, I appreciate what you guys do. And as a person who lives down the street from the downtown core, I appreciate also what you guys do and how we manage them. So I don't think that looking at budgets and looking how we got here and cementing how we're going to move forward is any reflection on where we place the value of the chamber. It's an important process, and glad everybody's participating in good faith.
Yeah, I agree that we all agree that it's best when we're walking in step together and, you know, affirming that relationship. And I'm pleased that you feel like it's been a strong one in these recent years, and I'll take a little bit of credit for that. And then we'll try to keep that going. So. All right, with that, we have a motion on the floor. If there's no other questions or comments, take a vote. All those in favor of approving this Chamber of Commerce agreement for 1 more year? Okay. Let's see the hands. And it's unanimous. All right, thank you all. Action 14, professional services agreement. Andy.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a professional services agreement with Transpo Group. They've been our on-call transportation planner, starting, I believe it was just last year. So this is extending their contract through 2026 to have them for on-call services. This has a not to exceed cost of $50,000, which is consistent with our purchasing and procurement policy. And really what we have them on hand to do is to review traffic impact analysis when they come in. They're assisting with, as Maggie mentioned earlier, the parking kind of standards update. Is that? Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So we have this kind of master on-call contract with them and then write task authorizations for each specific item they do for us. Again, this is just renewing their contract to be our on-call transportation planner for next year. I'm available if you have any questions.
Yeah, I had a question, Annie, just like, so, for example, what do? Were they part of the action on parking garage? Do they play a role there?
No, so that has a transportation planner assigned to that team. It's part of that consultant, I think, right?
Oh, it's Marnie's group. Is that Transpo?
Is it what? It's separate.
It's separate. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I just didn't know what they did.
This is really, the primary thing that Maggie and I use them for is traffic impact analyses. When those come in from a development, we now have them as our third-party reviewer. They're an expert in this. We're not.
Yeah.
So we send those off to them and then the developer pays the pass-through cost for their consultant review, which is standard with how we do development review. But this is just one more consultant that we can use who's an expert and help us really understand the traffic impact analyses that we receive. That's the biggest thing we use them for.
Okay.
So I think maybe this year we had 3. Yeah, so I think there were 2 or pre-apps that we had them take a look at.
Andy, since the developers pay for the third party review of the traffic impact analysis, is this contract essentially to hold them for on-call services? And we can pay them for those services and then the developer reimburses the city. So essentially we're not spending money.
I mean,
Yeah.
Is that
like on the project I have with like the planning commission, that's coming out of my budget through the contract with them because it's for a city project. It's not a developer driving it, but we do need that information. We don't have anyone in-house that has that specialty. So it's nice to have them for those kind of projects that come up.
So it's a mix of both. Some of it is us and some of it is developers.
It's typically reimbursed.
I think that's the only one that we've had so far that's been funded by the city. I think everything else has been a pass-through cost. But again, we still want to have a clear contract in place with them, just detailing rates, expectations, all those types of things. And then, yeah, they get passed through.
So they're the ones that compose the traffic analysis for Widener above that rattlesnake.
They don't write any of them. They only review. So for example, with the one you're referring to, they're responsible to hire someone to write their own TIA. And then this consultant reviews on our behalf. So they're independent from the consultant that writes the TIA.
Okay.
They're just an expert reviewer on our behalf.
So what do they say?
Maggie and I weren't here for that one. We weren't in these roles, so I can't speak. I don't know who reviewed.
These guys didn't?
No, we didn't have them under this contract for that.
Okay.
I can't speak to how that was reviewed.
Right. Okay. So actually, they don't do the TIA.
No.
Somebody else does it, and then they review the results and validate the results were accurate.
Yep.
That's what their job is.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it helps with transparency too, with some of these big developments and projects. It helps kind of eliminate that pressure from staff. It's a third party coming out to look at that.
And that's similar to what we do on some of the public works reviews and some of the building permit reviews. We have consultants who review on our behalf, and we pass through those costs.
I entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Transpo Group USA Inc. for 2026 on-call transportation planning services the not to exceed cost of $50,000.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Ann. Any other questions? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hand. It passes unanimously. Another professional services agreement for on-call utility engineering. Wendy.
Yes, so this one is with RH2 Engineering for the 2026 on-call utility engineering. This one is primarily for city projects. I don't think we've done any developer. Well, we've done like one very small developer pass through with them, but generally they're under this contract to execute city projects. This really is more of a formality. I like to have this on here each year because we specifically wrote in the RFQ that it's a year-to-year contract and staff and council have the option to renew. If we do choose to renew annually for the full extent that we can, it will expire December 31st, 2027. But staff is recommending that we use them again for 2026. And I'm available. Oh, one other thing to mention on this one, it does not have a not to exceed cost because for the purchasing and procurement policy, we selected them using the full formal selection process. We do a task authorization with them for every item of work, and then that specific task authorization follows the purchasing and procurement policy. So if it's over $50,000 for a specific task, it will come to you for review. This is just kind of that master contract with them.
Questions? I would entertain a motion.
The Lebanon City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a professional service agreement with RH2 Engineering, Inc. for 2026 on-call utility engineering.
Second. Moved by Zeke, seconded by Clint. Any other questions? From the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hand. Again, passes unanimously. Another interlocal agreement with Wind Transit and also Andy.
So I am bringing this interlocal agreement back to you. You already saw it on September 23rd. Council approved it. And then when we sent it off to Link for their signature, they actually had additional comments. We've been negotiating with them since the end of September to finalize, even though we thought we had all agreed to it. So point being, this is back in front of you with some revised language that's detailed in the write-up. Staff is recommending accepting these changes, and it has gone through legal review. We were just picky in the language that we wanted to accept because they have kind of a building within our building. And so we just wanted to be sure that everyone's covered. And with this revised language, staff would recommend that the council moves forward with the revised agreement.
I have a question. So we don't have to amend the agreement to be passed September.
This is replaced.
It's just replace it.
Yeah, so this is the entire agreement, not just that contract language. We have the whole thing for you, for the mayor to re-sign, to not re-sign, but to sign.
Hey, yeah.
Well, I can't remember if this actually was incorporated originally in theirs or not. You would know better than I would. I think they might have had. Okay. We'll bring it back one more time, sorry.
No, I mean,
Well,
we can be done and it'll just
yeah,
have to be
right.
fully executed.
By then. We'd be ahead of the game. All right, I would entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moved to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the interlocal agreement with Link Transit for janitorial services and maintenance of glacier parking lot, Link driver, restroom.
Second.
By Shane, seconded by Ann. Any other questions, comments in the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. And then item 17 is agreement for emergency services. Again, this is in your packet at the end, but this wasn't on your list. Selby.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a little late in the year because the contracted agency didn't get us their new costs until a week ago. Otherwise, this would have been in your packet a month or so ago. This is for emergency management services from Chelan County and includes emergency management plan development, disaster coordination, and assistance. And what they do is they take the entire population of the county, they divide it by their budget, and they come up with a per person fee for emergency management. And this year that is $4 per person. So based on our estimated population by the Office of Financial Management of 2,615 people, our contract cost for the year is $10,458.52.
Questions?
So it just got to do with when you guys sit down and put down this master plan and just part of the cost? Or just separate?
This, the master plan,
Well, all those multi-agencies that come up with a traffic idea.
they, well, Chelan County Emergency Management is at the table for all of those. Yes, for all of those. They staff the EOC. They come up with incident management plans for every week of Village of Lights. If there was a wildfire disaster, they'd be the boots on the grounds for us.
So that's just part of their fee for participating.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of insurance policy.
Pretty cheap one if you think about it.
Yeah, so.
It covers the cost of their increased technology uses. Do you have any people that phone calls and text messages today?
Yep, Everbridge.
Yep. That, so.
Yeah.
It's great information.
Oh, that Everbridge was actually the city's. I'm pretty certain Kara put that up.
Oh,
We use the same emergency maintenance. The city has an Everbridge
as well.
Mine came from.
Did it come from
Yeah,
them?
mine came
Okay,
from
okay, all
Chelan
right. Because we have a sign up, we have a big poster board. If you haven't signed up for the cities to get alerts about water main breaks, that's how you do it.
Signed up.
Yep. Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to sign 6 emergency services agreement with Chelan County. Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Shane. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hand. Again, passes unanimously. Yay. All right, Clint.
No report to give.
And
I haven't had any city specific meetings yet, but did want to give a big shout out to Andy and the team. Battling the floodwaters yesterday evening. I connected with her after a resident had reached out to me in desperation where their drivers were about to be flooded in the alley, and Andy pulled their team together really quickly to help solve some water issues in the alley. So thank you. It was Rick's team, but.
you weren't out there?
She was.
I did a preliminary. Oh, she was out there for deep.
Yeah,
All right, Zeke.
Let's see, so last week, myself and Councilman Bernard attended the recycle meeting they had, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday, considering the recycle center and brush issues, collection. Pretty positive meeting. I think that was to be read, Selby's notes. The brush is going to continue because of the major role of Ariana Jones and Waste Loop. Probably shut it down, various reasons, and some good ones, but anyway, we'll at least have, if I have it right, brush service is still June. We have some issues to deal with the glass recycling, because that's also a huge issue for the city. What to do with that, how to make it better. But anyway, a lot of players are there. North Sustainable NCW is there, and also Waste Loop in the city. And so good meeting, good plans made, and so attended that. We're at this week, the Housing Advisory Committee's meeting Thursday to consider. Well, we were sitting down because we've put our RFQ out and probably going to talk about any takers for that. So that's a kind of exciting start. And then just off the top of yesterday, I got invited to pickleball group meeting at the fire hall because there's a group of pickleball folks, but a few in this town, and they're probably going to show up here sometime later next year, early this year, maybe, to present their request for planning services and how the city can work with them on securing, planning service. So that's my report.
Right.
I don't have too much to report. I did attend the AWC elected officials Central 2025 training on Saturday, December 6th in East Wenatchee at their city hall. I did training. I don't think it was a long training, the one on Saturday when I was first elected into office, but this was a great training, I think, for me, a good refresher. I'm about to start my second term on council. It was really awesome to attend in person and not on Zoom and actually collaborate with other elected officials. I thought that was really cool. Then last night, Matt Lyon from Tread invited me to the Bushel and Bee to meet with Elizabeth, who was their sole Forest Service ranger patrolling, the encampments this last year. And it was kind of a chance to recognize her and all her hard work and dedication to managing, the locally forest area. Sit down and talk with her and hear about her, her struggles throughout the year with the budget. That's the person out there.
She's got like 9,000 square miles.
Yeah.
Give or take 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been my report.
All right.
Yeah, as Zeke mentioned, I got together with a bunch of stakeholders regarding the recycle center here in town and trying to strategize ways of keeping that going. Clearly is a highly utilized program here. And then I attended the Association of Washington Cities meeting with Bob, and no report from you on it. So, and that was excellent. I concur with Shane. It was fantastic. It was only a appointed committee or chairman. It was really nice to go and learn about how the city's work. And then I was also at the meeting with Tread last night to honor our sole ranger. It was great. It was nice also to be able to reaffirm our commitment as a city, as one of the original stakeholders meeting attendees, to be able to kind of recommit to that process, because next year's not getting better yet.
Looking a lot better, isn't it?
That's all I got.
All right. Travis, I forget you're up there.
Thanks. I know.
I think it's a good report.
You're breaking up.
No reports.
And he muted.
Oh, is that what he said? No report?
I read it.
He muted himself. Well, it was great to see the three of you down at the Association of Washington Cities. I made very brief appearance because of other duties, but I will be gone the next couple of days for a board meeting with the AWC. And I hope, the three of you will stay engaged and take advantage of some of their ongoing trainings and things. You can get them in small bites and, it'd be great. And that's about it for me, Selby.
No report.
All right.
All right.
Yay.
Let me make up for everyone.
So I want to say kudos to Chantel for the awesome.
Oh. Thank you. Well, let me start with that one. It's potential that we're not going to have a federal single audit next year because the threshold went from 750,000 to 1 million. I will not know the answer to that fully though until January 20th, when I take in all final invoices for 2025. But right now I'm looking at, I think I was around 800,000. So we'll see how that pans out, because that'll save us quite a bit of money if that comes to fruition. The pool loan. So at the end of November, we did get the property taxes in, and I was able to return the entire $71,000 back to the city's general fund. And we had $4,000 left over in the fund. And we got a little under $4,000 more from the swim team for their payment this year. So right now, we're sitting with a few $1,000s, although I do expect anywhere between 5 and 10 to close out the year. So could be a small loan, could be flush. We'll see how that pans out. With the cancellation tonight of your next meeting, that means that you will not get your November finance report until the first meeting in January. However, if you're chomping at the bit to know what those numbers are, I did finish it today and I did post the entire report to the finance page. So you can go ahead and go to our city website and take a look at that. Or if you want to just shoot me an email, I'll send you a link to it.
Down the website?
No.
That's not that yet. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Whoa.
Let me wiggle my nose. That was it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Really quickly, taking your feedback from the last council meeting for the RFQ for hearing examiner. I am working on that, taking some time just because I have a lot on my plate right now. And so I am going to be coming to you in January to see if we can do just a supplemental agreement to get me through another few months, because we do have some projects that'll be coming in, and I want to make sure we have coverage and have a hearing examiner available to hear those decisions or render those decisions. So I will be coming to you next month with some kind of a supplemental agreement for that, but I am working on the RFQ. And then we met with PC last week. Looking forward to the joint meeting next month. You all. That's all.
Andy.
I just really have one update, but I mentioned earlier that we hired a staff engineer, so Tony Cameron is going to be joining our team on January 5th. He'll be the new addition. That's all I have.
Okay, what about the trucks?
Oh,
They're here.
keep forgetting
They're
about the
operational and they're great too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm working on a naming contest.
She's got a lot on her plate right now.
But
Not the highest of her priorities, but will get done.
it will get done.
But yeah.
On the voting, the vote phase.
Oh, yeah, that's,
We have a catch up.
Yeah.
well, we allow people to vote, but we select.
But yeah, they did finally get here this year, which is awesome. And Rick's first words were worth the wait.
Yeah, we're the way.
Yeah.
Great for you.
Thanks for asking. I forgot to update you.
Well, I already knew that because I crossed trails with Rick and he told me, ta-da.
Ta-da.
He never told us that, so I want to make
Well,
sure.
I have to be careful. Rick's always said he's gonna retire once we got new trucks.
I'll take it back.
Well, these were only, what, 3 years in the waiting?
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Passes unanimous.
See y'all next year.
Happy holidays. See you next year.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I would like to